because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate.
We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America.
Hello. The President of the United States is, he's an idiot. And I think he proved that beyond any reasonable doubt last week. And I think he's now in a position where he's going to find it very, very difficult going forward. And indeed, I think he's going to have difficulty in surviving. Now, in this video, I'll tell you why. And I've made a second video concerning the speech he gave last week, the speech in which he talked about world leaders ringing up and asking to kiss his arse. And I decided to make two because I don't want it to either want to go on too long. Now, when you think about how much power Trump has, he has almost unlimited power. He can make decisions on his own without reference to anybody, without any restraint. He can make decisions that affect the entire world, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks. We're told how brilliant he is. We're told endlessly about The Art of the Deal, the book that was actually ghostwritten by a guy called Tony Schwartz, who said that not only did Trump not take part in writing that book, but he didn't think he'd even read it. Indeed, he said he didn't think that Trump had ever read any book from cover to cover. Trump is a guy who's a flawed individual. He's a narcissist. Everything is about him. I think he still thinks he's running the Apprentice. He's running the country as The Apprentice. He thinks he's clever than everybody else, and he's just what he is, without question, and where he does really excel, and where he's probably the greatest that's ever lived, is as a con man. He's just a con man. Anybody who can convince 70 or 80 million people to elect him as president twice, the second time after he's been found guilty of all sorts of offences and has been convicted as a felon, anyone who's that skilled a con man is world class. And so we're all we're all subject to decisions he's making now, and nobody seems to be able to stop him. And we had this, now he can do what he likes. We had this ridiculous business in the Rose Garden or the Rose Kindergarten last week before last, where he held up those silly boards, telling everybody about all the tariffs he's going to impose on countries all over the world, tariffs calculated by some ridiculous, totally irrelevant formula, and how this caused enormous panic, and how stock markets started collapsing and so on, and how those tariffs would still be in effect if it wasn't for the fact that the Japanese kind of rode in and saved the world by starting selling US Treasury bonds and causing a bit of a panic, whereby Trump had to suddenly back down. And he did so by reducing all tariffs for all countries throughout the world to 10%, plus of course the 25% for cars, aluminium and steel, and then beginning this bidding war against China in terms of how high could tariffs go. We were told after he backed down, after the embarrassment of backing down, we were told that this is all planned. The Barbie doll, who's the current White House spokeswoman, and Scott Brennan, the financial secretary, they all came out and said, it was all planned. It was a strategy. And so the plan was to announce all these tariffs, and then watch the world's stock markets collapse and see the panic throughout the world, and then after we just turn it around and say, no, we're all planned. But where Trump has really, I think, met his match, where I think he's doomed to fail, is in confronting China. Now, there are all sorts of reasons for wanting to rebalance trade with China. There's no question that over the years, China has stolen intellectual property. How they in the early days they used to send people from China to various countries and steal property and work in businesses and then go back and copy those businesses and undercut them and so on. There's no doubt there's been all sorts of state aid to businesses, that the currency has been manipulated and so on. They have not played it absolutely straight when it comes to world trade. And these are all matters which might well have been addressed, and indeed it's over a period of time they could have been addressed. But no, Trump has such confidence, he just thought he'd just jump in and put them in their place. And I'm afraid he's chosen the wrong enemy. See, it's not America versus China, it's Donald J. Trump versus China. And I think one thing that kind of summed up the attitude of Trump and his ilk towards China was when the idiot Vance described them all as peasants. You know, you describe a nation of 1.4 billion, 3 times the size, 3.5 times the size of America. A nation that's gone from being very, very poor to the second richest nation in the world in 40 years. A nation that's built 25,000 miles of high-speed rail, hundreds of cities, mega cities all over China. A nation that sent rockets to the moon. To describe those peasants is not smart. And for various historic reasons, but as a part of their character, Chinese people are very concerned about face, and they never ever want to lose face. And when you look at the Chinese Politburo, you see all those people there, and they're all very disciplined. It's a very disciplined nation, it's an authoritarian nation. But when you see them, the idea that they're going to back down to this clown, Trump, this loudmouth, this guy who's out of control, it's never going to happen. And so the question is, what is going to happen? And, at what point will Trump back down? If he does back down, of course, it'll be a great victory. But when's he going to back down? And I think you have to start thinking about what are the consequences of these trade barriers, because the barriers are so high now. I think the latest is about 135%, isn't it? Well, that's more than doubling the cost of anything that's bought from China. Well, when you think, as I mentioned last week, 60% of all Walmart's goods are sourced in China. When you think of all over America, there'll be tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of little businesses. They might be selling on Etsy or on eBay or on Amazon, or they might have little corner shops. There might be small wholesalers, whatever. But they're all selling Chinese goods. Also, many of them will be selling Chinese goods, and they're not going to be able to get them. They're all going to go bust. And when you think of all the things that you have to buy that come from China, it's clothes, it's car parts, whether it's household goods, whatever. Everywhere you look, computers, everything. And subject to computers, we know that Apple iPhones are made in China. Well, if you paid £1,000 or thereabouts for your last iPhone, I mean, hang on to it, because you're not going to be able to replace it for less than $2,500 in future. And how long is it going to take to set up iPhone factories in America? 5 years. And so I think what is going to happen is that people are going to start feeling pain. And they feel more and more pain as this goes on and on and on, until such time as Trump is forced to back down. And I think the thing about this particular pain is that it's all going to be focused. It's going to be focused on the one man who caused all this chaos. It's going to be focused on Trump. And people are going to really, really hate him. And we saw those demonstrations last week, I think, or the week before, when millions of people all over America came out demonstrating. There's another demonstration planned for next Saturday where millions of people are likely to come out. And that'll no doubt grow and grow and grow. And I think also some of these Republican politicians, these senators and congressmen, are going to find it's very difficult to continue to support the madness of Trump. And when you see, for example, Fox News, who are his biggest supporters of all in the media, when you see them turning against him and criticising him, his days are numbered. I just don't see. I know people will say there's always very difficult to get rid of a president and so on. But I think if one man is destroying a whole country and is making a whole country poorer, people are not going to stand for it. I just don't see how he's going to. I think he's crazy. I think he's an idiot, and he's so inebriated. He's so completely drunk on his own self-love and power, and it's all gonna end in tears. As I say, he made a speech last Wednesday. Before he had to back down, he made a speech, and as I say in the second video, which I'll publish shortly, I'm going to read some excerpts. It's quite a lot of it, but it's the ramblings of a crazy guy. He's nuts. Anyway, that's what I think about it. If you watch this far, thank you very much. I hope you can watch the second video, but I'll try and post it also today if I can. And so, if you have watched this far, thank you very much indeed. And until shortly, bye for now.